You can tell by my tires that not everybody who's driven with me is still alive. Also, that I like my drinks neat bottled and in a bus stop. Also, that we drown in precinct paper, department store floor plans, and applications to the moon. We can change the color of our snot from gifted to heart attack and tell you about ashes, but where are all these angels coming from, smelling like the cigarette that fails? And why is the man on the safe side, these headlights freezing up? You got nothing to say at my funeral, I'll speak on your behalf. Heroin in my smile. Mountain made a flatland robbery among some things on my mind. The last store run in the name of shared afterlife. Friday to the filter, I'm a tall tale on earth. But here's to that angel that never appeared to America. In the night, a dog paddling a batch of hangovers looking for a home. You know, a liar wouldn't have lived this long. That's my humor when fences speak. On a pair of rambling dice that got unique tempers and young souls to say shut up about our city. Here tidal months crash over a coast, why lie? The street's teeth are in pieces. There's reservoir art on the faces of stragglers. There's sad news from back home that mean we have to grow up on his behalf. Stumble back to a car full of last stand. The truth is stale, but still liquor. Mission Street will be proud of me. I'm a mural man, almost organized. Remember when my lungs would wake up last, walking on morning if it was worth it? Man, I'm 3 decades homeless. And reservoir art is all I ever see. And I'm 2,000 miles from my first fight. Maybe no one really survived. Maybe I wrote my first poem for no reason. Yeah, I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative. All over the United States, there are toddlers in the rock. I see why everyone out here got in a big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why it gets shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history or take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewers near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti. In the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part, no cops in part, my body brings down to Christmas. The new bullets pray over the blankets made from the old bullets. Pray over the 28th hour's next beauty mark. Extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration. The waistband before the next protest post. Hey, by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your desk for last. You're a witty, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. It's only raining one thing. Non-white cops and prison guard shadows reminded me of spoiled milk floating on an oil spill. A neighborhood making a lot of fuss over his demise. A new lake for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder. The figment of village. A new noose to a new white preacher. All in an abstract painting of a president. Bought slavery some time, didn't it? The tanted screeches of military bolts and election Tuesday cars, a cold-blooded study in leg irons proof that some white people have actually fondled nooses. That sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque peach plastic and bold action audiences. The Medgar Evers second is definitely my favorite law of science. Fondle news clippings and primitive Methodists, my arm changes imperialisms. Simple policing versus structural frenzies. Elementary school script versus even wider white spectrums. Artless bleeding and the challenge of watching civilians think. Terrible rituals they have around the corner. They let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads and their arrows myself and see how much gravy spills out of family crest. Modern fans of war with their T-shirt poems and T-shirt guilt and me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus. I have no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. You know, apparently too much of San Francisco was not there in the first place. This dream requires more condemned Africans, or put another way, state violence rises down, or still life is just getting warmed up, or army life is looking for a new church and ignored all other suggestions, or folktale writers have not made up their minds as to who is gonna be their friends. You know, this is the worst downtown yet. And I've borrowed a cigarette everywhere. I've taken many a walk to the back of a bus that led on out the back of a storyteller's prison sentence, then on out the back of slave scars, but this is my comeback phase. I left my watch on the public bathroom sink and took the toilet with me. Threw it at the first bus I saw eating single mothers half alive. It flew through the bus line numbered and on out the front of the White House. Hopefully you find comfort downtown, but if not, we brought you enough cigarette filters to make a decent winter coat. A special species of handshake lets all know who's king and what's the lifespan of uniform cloth. This cougher needs to quit acting like those are birds singing. Rusty nails have no wings, have no voice other than that of a white world dying. Their book pages in the gas pump, catchy, isn't it? The way 3 nooses is the rule, or the way potato sack masks go so well with radio codes, or the way condemned Africans fought their way back to the ocean, only to find waves made of 1920s burnt up piano parts, European backdoor deals, and red flowers for widows who spend all day in the sun mumbling in San Francisco. Red flowers, but what's the color of a doctor visit? There are book titles in the streets. Book titles like Hero, You Make a Better Zero, or Hey Fur Coat Lady, the President is Dead, or Pay Me Back in Children, or They hung up their bodies in their own museums. And other book titles pulled from a drum solo. Run here, hero, lie at the hiding place. All the bullets in 10 precincts know where to go. There's no heaven nor any other good idea in the sky. Politics means that people did it and people do it. Understand that when in San Francisco and other places, that was never really there. I bet this ocean thinks it's an ocean, but it's not. It's just 6th and Mission Street. I don't know who's king. King of thin things, like America, I'm proud to deserve to die. I'm gonna eat my dinner extra slow tonight in this police state candy dispenser you all call the neighborhood. No set of manners goes unpunished. Never mind a murderer's insomnia, or the tea kettle preparing everyone for police sirens. Guided by teeth goes this country. There's a cow's mouth on the flag. A peculiar notepad holds street life dear, but the writer's not here. He's somewhere talking to tombstones about the good old days, or splashing reborn water on his latest face, or wondering how his old gun is doing in the afterlife, wondering how much death trap is in those gas stations now. It's gotta be $1 million a day on this concrete island. New engine in the moon while it never goes down. 72 straight hours of night, at least according to everyone's posture around here. 8:30 in the morning is really 30 minutes of closing. The city shuts down for a sleepy rat race. Elevators shoe shuffle to the nearest heaven. Laughing with rats the whole way up, it scabs everywhere. In puddles of city and concentrated schools, the TV lit warm rooms, the light reveals military fatigue when it hits just right on the ties that are wrapped around the necks of lazy white guys. Empire is too easy, baby. Chant at the walls all summer if you feel like it. Best way for a target to move is shooting back. Running for a tree line made of freeways. Wisdom says against a war machine on Tuesday, you stand no chance. But may we be the last poor people to play it safe. Cow's mouth on a flag. A politician raises his hand and the crowd shows their teeth. An oligarch raises his hand, little kids are not safe outside. We all high, depressed, and comrades in function. 15 minutes of closing and the city has survived another black rebellion. We just paying dues by trash fires, not just anybody can set. Hey, don't you love how deadly things whisper in the moment and people kill like feathers fall while everybody's screaming inside? I stare at my father for a few seconds, then return to my upbringing, return to the souls of Ohio black folk. Revolution down there, pagan at this point, you know what the clown wants? The respect of the ant. Wants to interpret pain only. Wants to pull a 38 out of a begging bowl. Wants me to hurt my hand on this pen. I'm not tired of these rooms, just tired of the world to give them a relativity. My only change of clothes prosecuted. The government finally learned how to write poems. Shootouts that briefly align, that make up a parable, or parables like, white bodies are paid well. Do white men even have leaders? Are all white people white men? Or rat pictures a river, can almost taste the racial divide, can almost roll a family member's head into a city hall legislative chamber. Those who in this good book will fly. All I do is practice, Lord. Decide not to talk out of anger ever again. Met my wife at the same time I met new audience members for our pain. We pass each other cigarettes and watch cops win. A city gone uniquely linear, Harlem of the West do a true universe. I will always remember you in fancy clothes, my wife said, so here I sit, twisting in silk ideation. Rifle made of postbellum tar, targets made of an honest language. This San Francisco poetry is how God knows that it's me whining. Riding among the lesser respected wolves, lesser observed militarization. Dixie list prison bookkeeping, the California gray coats are coming. Lynch mob gossiping, bourgeois debt collection is tempting to change professions mid-poem. In the Chicago briefing, the white sergeant saying blank slate for all of us after this black organizer is dead. Standard academics toasting $2 wine at the tank parade. Bay of nothing, Lord, just nuclear cobblestones, gun line athleticism, and the last of the inherited asthma. Children giving white dolls to play with in fear. Facial expressions borrowed from rich people's shoestrings. I can hear hate and teach hate and call tools by people names and name people dead to themselves. No one get naturalized except federal agents soon. Carving the equator in the throat soon. I'm sorry to make you relive all this, Lord. All this pre-dime monarchy friends putting up politician posters and snorting the mane of the pace. Minstrel script shoving into the walls by their elders. My children sharpening quarters on the city's edge. For these audiences, I'll project myself into a ghost-like state. For these gangsters, I do the same. Every now and then, take a nervous look east. Sleep becomes Christ. Sleep starts growing a racial identity. Do you ever spiral, Lord? Has the gang age betrayed us? Be patient with my poems, Lord. So much pain, it gotta be a point to crime. There has to be if race traders come with it. Lord, is that my revolver in your hand? Better presents than these if you're in the cages that have called us holy slaves, filled the school libraries with cop documentaries, baby. I don't have money for food, shit. I don't have a present moment at all. I talk facing away from the dead. They replace me with the change in my pocket, a penny that's yet to be invented. They say you have to know how to cut a throat. On the way to cutting a throat, after sleeping on a mattress made from 2 garbage bags of clothes, I became content with the small gestures of plantation fires. I mean, playing with couch ashes, I realized how weird the universe was. It exists in so many places, so many random things that interrupt me while I'm trying to dream. Like your clay correspondence, Lord. Hey, to be transparent, I have 20 books next to a bullet, like an old man giving advice at the beginning of a revolution. I've really done it, Lord. Explored the mumbles of my mind. Explored what's naturally there, and I found no brainwashing shit. I found Africa, Lord. I got a future. It takes place in the diasporic South. I have morning possessions. Modern militancy, windows to the South. I'll walk on a missile for food. I guess you will not want flowers for a few years, Lord. Will I be tied face to face with the country I murdered? Merge with us, Lord. Our old metal versus new metal. Our old metal versus a pool of meandering imperialist faces, a multiculturalism of sorts. The dead replaced me with a comedian's chest cavity instead of a chest cavity held tight. It takes a violent middleman for me to talk to myself. Stories that travel through other people's stories, like a song about a song or a hemisphere about a hemisphere, stories that travel through a conquered poet. My mother remembers Africa, Lord. She killed on behalf of you, Lord. I wore a machete all winter and no one asked me what it meant. I read 1,000 books in front of the world. What I do is fight poems and sleep through decadent San Francisco prayer circles. Watch people play for post-working class associative surfaces or recreations of a governor's desk, ruling class art of utility plan. Find a sociopathic bureaucrat. A day some white people scare even easier. TV in a basket next to a ceramic baby, wearing ceramic armor, musket progeny, fantasizing through the art of the poor. Their trendy latches locked before God. They hand over my friends, Lord. Lord, I think I'm gonna die in the war. Unelected white people in my small house like a blues song of no spiritual effect, or dollhouse H-bomb, or pony show near dead bodies, or apartheid weddings that go right, or apartheid white people who give birth to mathematicians, the spiritual continuity of barracks and police stations, the chemical interpretation of a Sunday trip to church smells in their pockets, a river mistaken for a talking river, no autobiography outside of small personal victories of violence and drug use made in the image of God, trinkets where white abolitionists confided in their children about, chemical assurances that they will switch from black artists to white artists, from black guy to white guy, from black worker to white worker. I think about you cautiously, Lord. In the same way I think about my childhood, Lord. Foxhole Friday nights, most of life is mute. A comedian points out a planter's field to a priest. King Sugarcane, King Cotton, King Revolutionary, the Bottle Central, containing all modes of shallow introduction, introducing an unlisted planet class speaking about fevers and balance sheets and reassuring the masses that we could figure out our fathers later. A priest took my mother lightly, Lord, stood in front of parishioners, re-raveling fantasies about black art. Priest reading confidently before I broke him and broke his parallel. You know, after the day, I've never been a poet before. A little brother watches his big brother's friends. They lean rifles on shelter walls. They agree with me and call it literature. It's a simple matter, this revolution thing. To really lie to no one, to keep nothing godlike, to write a poem for God. And in conclusion, man, I had this dream. Planted dead in the weekday that I was laid up in the hospital, and people kept coming into my room by the dozens, and each dozen had special handshakes for each other and occasionally current dance moves, and they would kick my hospital bed from time to time to let me know that they'd be dancing from this room on out to my grave. Strange cha-chas and soft shoe shuffles, disco spins like they were dancing for a white sundial, marking numbness in their feet drum race ride, and I was ready to die. Because, you know, ask a musician in the tombs after court, it's the surroundings themselves that is the uniform. But still, I just couldn't bring myself to visualize against God. Hey, one of them stood over me like a conductor, waving their arms over my body, directing my heart to beat fainter and fainter, directing the tubes to turn the fluids back, and I kept fading from consciousness with thud after thud on the legs of my bed as they danced wilder and wilder. Well, wild but meek, or artificially meek, like an artificial pastor told them to be. I was to be some kind of projection or character to be laid at their feet. Are you the only one participating in the revolution today? They mocked me, and I was ready to go because, you know, there are plenty of pianos that could use a new soul, and I'm going to be in the revolution for as long as it takes, so you can punch me out now. I mean, I was born with one foot in a lime pit anyway, but check it out. No one bothered to ask the doctor if I was really dead. They was just too busy strutting, too busy kissing, and I kept fading and fading with only enough breath and sweet consciousness to count their smiles, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I heard a voice, a whisper, and it was counting with me. 6, we said. 7, we said. 8, then another voice joined us. 9, 10, then another. You see, I haven't been eating, mama. I've been in a trance. I haven't been sleeping. I've been washing my face off the port of Charleston. There's blood on the fog. You know, a lot of God can happen in 3 seconds. Not much heaven, though. Here's a man before a fight, a leave me alone type character, emerging from the penniless death of a one-way street fiction. I mean, a fancy way of saying I'm going to make it even if I have to drive backwards. All I have is chord changes in 1,000 backhands, driving the street like I'm choking it. Car full of nephews. Hasn't been a sun since November, and it hasn't been a street. I can't choke to death. This city better back down. You see this gun on the table and something about staring until it all feels stable? Why wouldn't I protect everyone? All my deaths leave late. My son better be quick. My daughter better shoot first because we fold for no one. We fold for nothing. Okay. The first thing you'll feel is a heat. This lady would tell me, trying to tell me about possession. Drink life need is what I mostly hear, and most of the world leaves me alone to breathe smog like a giant, to go to jail every once in a while when the genocide kicks up in late May, when politicians have too easy a time. I'm gassing backwards out of one-way street in honor of myself and in honor of you, if you understand the nature of the world. And how long I've been just like my father? One hell of a resemblance, says the anxiety of the neighborhood. This is a crossroads or a crossroads narrative, or so much crossroads people get in the habit of turn back on to find themselves remembering me, but not my last words. A man before a fight, you'll feel the heat. But there's nothing to keep in mind. There's nothing to remember. Really, there's nothing to be. There's just this moment, then another, then stare, then it all becomes stable, then the table legs go fuzzy, and Friday's an unfamiliar face peeking in the window. It's cool to panic for a second. I mean, composure is wasted on your worst enemies. People are marked on that sidewalk. You know, only thing, life size, everybody knows this. In a wire hanger empire, when the blood stops walking, that feeling isn't father enough to be permission to fold. You better swing one more time. You know, that father of yours rose from the grave and said, just give me 5 more minutes. He said, running water is a myth. It's us who are running up, down, and all alongside this water. And people don't rise from the grave. They not laid down neither. It's us who flip all around their bodies. So beware when the people around you all look like they about to jump. It might be your time. You'll feel the heat. And when 4 walls demand to be 4 walls and the earth outside mutes, don't panic. Don't try to recreate the earth outside. Don't tell jokes to yourself. Don't even talk disrespectfully to the 4 walls. Instead, unclench your fist and walk away. There might be heaven if you understand the nature of the world. These little societies, man, they wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments bent on offering me a nation of breadwinners to hold me back like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes, like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence turned away from a podium into the reeds like God is the dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop, balcony on my bedroom floor. You know, they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their foolish euphoria. From the loyalty out to their great superstition, loyalty out to their agrarian reform, I return to my mother completely disrespected. For peeling the heat off of purgatory, they kill poets like me. Walk me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this final industrial complex of bloodlines, picked through a sporting spirits of death, or you devil at least half made, police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against your chump change you a chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. A cubit of needlework spelled tune for the proletariat, the relapse ministry. Talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dime. Just another service day in the theatrics of tea house fascism and a bouquet of surveillance cameras in the poverty of God. New blue eyes, courses of water, a newly potted presidency, a one big shiny coin if you ask an animated capitalism, another non-literal voice, killing his white freedom, the deification of hyphens, medicine bread and picture shows, great protesters in LA, Guess of Our Inc. Drop kicking roses in the graveyard. I made DC mink like a stone torn in half, the pen advances, despite CIA guideposts, Despite non-African past and futures, a metaphorical but not surreal day in a horn-ridden life, horn player improvising king, like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand sweeps the land of racism. May I return to the ground? May I make progress with the gun? On our mother Emmanuel, they put on music that evening. A swinging tight body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills. For your body language, some applause. My past stomach lining, neither a good thing nor a bad thing, like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection. It'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading youth who surrendered their souls to Africa too soon. Potty thought floating in the cup of water she saved me. Accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynched. Cold sleeves wood and avalanche to the wrist. Our mother Emmanuel, avalanche to the sharp keys. Pain, the deal you make with pain. A piano makes sense for them. Laying hands on the world gradually. Addressing abandoned necks on the streets of the north. Travelers sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north. 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would have me. Putting 100 fights on every direction offered her. Lady Day leaning on trees again. Recruiting the countryside itself. Saying lay your plan on this lightning. Make your poems a quarter pocket of men. I greeted the blues itself. America may clean my dead body, but will never include me. There goes the poet. Killing. Killing without killing. Never mind this little painting of your language. May I be a meaningful lynching. A crow's passing. Good and dead by the afternoon. All right. What I've noticed since I've been here is for better or for worse, how much our struggles for liberation, which really is a struggle to destroy the white power structure in the United States, how much that would be, how much that requires a reunification. Enough is enough, though. I think on all sides and all gradations of, division, enough is enough in order for us to really set things right here, there, everywhere. We're gonna need this. We're all gonna need to tap in to a unity that that will be built on the back end of history.
I talk about being a Nairobian as opposed to a Kenyan half the time because the realities are very different. The struggle seems very different.
I see how much we like y'all, but I also see how much y'all is like us.
Yeah.
And that what colonization has really, has really worked over the old consciousness in a really familiar way. So it's like, I see the same shapes here. But I feel like it's good news, man. I mean, I feel like it's not good news, but it's not good. But the good news is I think there is definitely enough of baseline and enough people that really know what's up and really know where this thing needs to head for us to put one foot in front of the other and really start moving it. And that's the this the groovy news of the historical task of our generation, or a couple generations that are everybody breathing today, is that we actually have the opportunity to make movement more healthy, more sane, more, dare I say, gentle, at least to each other. We can go hard on these motherfuckers, but you know what I mean? like we have this opportunity to resolve contradictions that we were not able to resolve in the past due to completely understandable conditions. So I'm coming. I think I'm coming up out of here optimistic.
I think we're trying to expand our palette in this audience. I just want you to give me a couple names of people we should be listening to who are maybe your peers. I know some of them, but maybe people don't. Or people who are, in that Sonia and in the middle of their, just people we should be switched on to, basically.
Well, man, there's a sister named Aja Monet who is, man, out of this world. She actually just put an album out. Her album just come out. I forget the name of it. I think it's like, what was it, like when the poems do what they do, supposed to do, something like that. But Aja Monet, she also has a book, I think it's called like My Mother Was a Revolutionary or something like that. There's a sister named Mahogany Brown, Brown with an E at the end, who's also a great kind of contemporary poet. Man, there's this indigenous sister named Layli Long Soldier, who's also a very powerful living poet. Man, I always forget his last name. His brother Hanif. Yes. That's another cat who's my. This book is not poems. What's the book called, man? That latest book, or second to latest book. It's like a groovy. It's like actually based on. It's like a crazy. It flows between like memoir and an investigation of dance and the different incarnations of dancing. It's off the hook. Man, you know, Audre Lorde is the greatest to ever do it. Roque Dalton, some people haven't heard of as much, was a great revolutionary poet from El Salvador who actually died in a revolutionary struggle. He was actually murdered by his own organization due to some kind of like, you know, CIA instigating. Said, oh, he's a agent, and so they killed him, but he wasn't. But he lived one of those lives too. He was actually supposed to be put to death by, you know, the counter-revolutionary government. He was in his prison, and the night before he was supposed to be executed, there was an earthquake, and the wall of the prison fell down, and they all escaped. You know, so that's the kind of life, you know what I mean? And the bars are on par, you know. Well. So Roque Dalton is somebody else I'll point people's attention to. Man, who else?
I think Cheche, this is a wish list of books that we need to get, yes? In addition to Blood on the Fog.
Hey.
I think we still have a couple copies. Yes? They are finished.
Yeah. We got 4 more over there.
There are 4 more. Very limited stock. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. Right on.
Thank you.
Right on. High five.